Listen up. This ain't just another speech. This is a wake-up call. You were built to win. I need you to stop walking around like you're ordinary, like you're average, because you're not. You were crafted, forged, designed with purpose, with pain, with power to win. You don't go through what you've been through to end up quitting. You don't survive the storm just to lie down in the sunshine. Champions are not born on the podium. They're born in the dark, in the grind, in the dirt, when nobody's watching. When it's just you, your dream, and the voice that keeps telling you to give up. That's where winners are made. You were made for more. That's not just a phrase to hype you up. It's the truth buried inside every beat of your heart, every breath you take, and every dream you've ever dared to imagine. You weren't born just to survive. You weren't born to drift through life, pay bills, and die. You were born with greatness in your DNA. Somewhere along the way, though, life tried to convince you otherwise. It tried to beat that truth out of you with failure, fear, rejection, and disappointment. But hear me, none of that changes what you are. You were made for more. Look around you. Look at your environment. Maybe people told you you weren't good enough. Maybe they told you your dreams were too big. Maybe your own voice, the one in your head, started repeating those lies until you started believing them. But let me ask you something. If you really weren't meant for more, then why does that fire still burn in your gut? Why does that vision still haunt you in your quiet moments? Why do you still wake up thinking there's got to be more to life than this? That voice, that hunger, that's not fantasy. That's not delusion. That's the real you. That's the real you, the one you've been hiding, doubting, or silencing for too long. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need someone else to validate your dreams. You don't need a perfect plan, the right timing, or everyone's approval. What you need is to wake up to who you already are. You're not waiting to become something. You already are something. But potential is useless if it sits still. You've got to move. You've got to activate it. You've got to dig deep, even when it hurts, even when it's hard, even when nobody believes in you but you, Doc. The people who make it, the people who break through, the ones we look up to, they're not superhuman. They're not better than you. They just stopped sleeping on themselves. They made a decision. No more wasting time. No more shrinking to fit in. No more waiting for the stars to align. They realize what you need to realize now, that you were made for more, that everything you need is already inside you. The discipline, the focus, the resilience, it's there. Maybe it's buried under pain. Maybe it's been locked away by fear, but it's still there. And it's time to bring it out. You think because you failed, you're finished? No, failure doesn't mean the game is over. It means you're learning how to win. You think because life knocked you down, you don't belong at the top. No. That fall was a test to see if you're really built for the climb. And you are. But you've got to stop measuring your worth by the opinions of people who never saw your vision. Stop letting temporary circumstances define your permanent identity. You're not your past. You're not your mistakes. You're not your lowest moments. You are a force, a builder, a warrior, a creator. You were built for more. I get it. Life gets heavy. The weight of responsibility, the pressure to perform, the fear of failure, it can feel overwhelming. But you weren't made to break. You were made to bend, adjust, and come back stronger. Every time you thought you couldn't go on, and you did, that wasn't coincidence. That was evidence. Evidence that you are more powerful than you think, that you can withstand more than you believe, that you are still in the fight for a reason. You see, there's a version of you that's waiting. That's waiting. A version that's unstoppable, focused, relentless. But that version doesn't come out when life is easy. It doesn't show up when everything's comfortable. That version of you comes out when you look in the mirror and finally say, no more playing small, no more settling. Sure, no more settling. No more sleepwalking through life. That version shows up when you step into your purpose, even when you're scared, even when you're unsure, even when you're alone, because you know deep down that you weren't made to blend in. You were made to stand out. You weren't made to follow. You were made to lead. And it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. It's about waking up every day knowing that there's more in you and refusing to let it stay locked away. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard, not because someone else say you should, but because you know you were made for more. You can feel it in your bones, in your blood, in your breath that pain produces power. That's the truth nobody wants to hear, but it's the one that changes everything. The world tries to make us fear pain. It tells us to avoid discomfort, to run from hardship, to numb every ounce of struggle. But here's the reality. Pain is the price of growth. It's not the enemy. It's the instructor. The fire that breaks you is the same fire that forges you. Without pressure, diamonds don't form. Without resistance, muscles don't grow. Without pain, power never wakes up. Think about your story. Think about the moments that changed you, not the easy ones, not the celebration. I'm talking about the nights you cried yourself to sleep. The days you felt invisible. The failures that knocked the wind out of you. Those moments didn't destroy you. They revealed. They introduced you to a version of yourself that comfort never could. When everything was falling apart, something deeper was coming together. You didn't realize it then, but that pain was sharpening your vision, stretching your spirit, toughening your mind. Every wound taught you something no textbook ever could. You see, people want the crown, but they don't want the cross. They want the success story, but not the suffering that comes before it. But you can't skip the process. The pain is part of the process. You can't build greatness in a safe zone. You can't rise by avoiding the valleys. Every mountain you admire was carved by pressure. That pressure, the losses, the rejections, the betrayals, that's what real power. You don't become unstoppable because everything goes right. You become unstoppable because you learn how to stand. When everything's going wrong, God, stop looking at pain like it's punishment. It's preparation. It's giving you something comfort never could. Resilience. Pain trains your focus. It trains your gratitude. It wakes you up. When life punches you in the mouth and you keep getting back up, you're building something no one can take from you, inner strength. That's not something you can fake. That's not something you can borrow. That's earned. Earned through tears, sweat, silence, and survival. And the most dangerous person in any room is the one who's already been through hell and kept going down. You don't gain power by being untouched. You gain power by being unshaken. It's easy to feel confident when everything's smooth. But real confidence comes when you've been through enough storms to say, I'll throw what you wanted me. I'm still standing. That kind of power only comes from pain. Pain is what teaches you who you are. You find out what you believe when belief is the only thing you got left. You find out how bad you want it when giving up is the easier option. Every time you chose to fight instead of fold, grow instead of quit, you were adding weight to your foundation. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet don't look like much on the outside. They're quiet, they're steady, but inside, they're built like steel. Why? Because life didn't give them shortcuts. Life gave them trials. And they used every single one. They didn't waste their pain. They transformed it. And now they carry a different kind of presence. That's what power looks like. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just steady, unbothered, untouchable, and it's born from pain. You got to stop seeing pain as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something that happens for you. That pain you felt, it wasn't random. It was shaping your purpose. It was pushing you to grow in ways you never would have on your own. You needed that pressure to unlock your potential. You needed that heartbreak to open your eyes. You needed that rejection to redirect your path. Pain is a ruthless teacher, but it never leaves you the same. If you lean into it, if you listen to it, if you let it work in you, it will leave behind a power you never knew you had. People might see the success. They might admire your strength, but they don't know what it cost. They don't know the nights you wanted to quit. They don't know how many times you had to rebuild yourself. That's your power. That's the difference. You're not just strong because you want to be, you're strong because you have to be. Because you had no choice but to rise. And now you're not just surviving anymore. You're evolving. You're evolving. You're elevating. You're becoming something that even pain can't break that grind. That's the rule champions live by, and it's the reason why most people never get to the top. Everybody wants to shine, but nobody wants to sweat. Everyone wants the celebration, the spotlight, the recognition, but very few want to do the work when no one is watching. The truth is, the grind is where greatness is born, not in front of the crowd, not on the stage, not in the moment of victory. It's in the early mornings, the late nights, the silent battles you fight when the world's asleep and you're still chasing. The grind isn't sexy. It's not something people clap for. There are no trophies for the hours you spend doubting yourself and still pushing forward. There are no standing ovations for the moments you sacrifice comfort, sleep, social time, even peace of mind, all for a dream you can't yet touch. But that's where the real work happens. That's the difference between those who wish and those who win. Winners don't get lucky, they get consistent. They show up when they're tired. They show up when they're frustrated. They show up when motivation is gone. And all they got left is discipline. The grind is lonely. You're gonna lose people. People won't understand your drive. They'll tell you to take it easy, to relax, to stop being so obsessed. But the grind is obsession, is focus, tunnel vision. And if you want to build something great, you got to give more than what's comfortable. Most people can't handle that. They want the results, but not the routine. They want the blessing, but not the burden. They want the crown, but not the cause. You can't live like that and expect to win. You got to fall in love with the process. Fall in love with showing up when you don't feel like it. Fall in love with the silence, the solitude, the unseen hours. Because those are the moments that build you. That's where your character is tested. That's where your habits are formed. That's where you either rise or you fold. And the crazy part, the grind will never be convenient. It'll never feel easy. But the ones who learn to embrace that discomfort, the ones who make it part of their lifestyle, they're the ones who get results. There's nothing glamorous about waking up before the sun, about working 2 jobs to fund your dream, about studying when your friends, about studying when your friends are partying, about failing again and again and still finding a way to try one more time. But those sacrifices stack up. Every rep, every hour, every decision to keep going, it all adds up. And one day when you build something powerful, people will call you lucky, they'll call you talented, they'll call you gifted, but they'll never know what it cost you. They'll never understand that what looks like magic is actually the result of relentless, unsexy grind. Our success is not about how loud you talk. It's about how hard you work. The loudest in the room usually aren't the ones doing the most. The real ones, they're in the shadows. They're out of the spotlight. They're working when the world sleeps. And when the moment comes for them to step into the light, they're ready because they didn't wait to get ready. They stay ready. That's what the grind does. It prepares you. It shapes you. It builds the mindset, the skill set, and the resilience you need to handle success. When it finally shows up, there will be days when the grind feels pointless, when you don't see progress, when doubt creeps in. But those are the most important days, because those are the days most people quit. And every time you don't quit, every time you push through, you separate yourself. You create distance. You build momentum. You become someone who doesn't rely on motivation, but relies on movement. You become someone who doesn't chase perfection, but chases progress. You become someone who can be trusted with success because you earned it in private. That glamour is fleeting. It's a moment. It's a flash. But the grind is forever. It's the foundation. It's the part no one sees, but everyone benefits from. If you want the life that few have, you have to be willing to do what few will. Grind early, grind late, grind when it's hard, grind when it's boring, grind when it's boring, grind when it seems like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. Every day you choose to grind, you're building something real. You're becoming someone real. And that's the kind of success that lasts. I finished what you started. That's the mindset that separates the committed from the curious, the doers from the dreamers, the winners from the wishers. Anybody can start. Anybody can get excited in the beginning. When the goal is fresh, when the energy is high, when the vision is clear, everybody's motivated. But what happens when that motivation fades? What happens when the excitement wears off and all that's left is hard work, repetition, and resistance? That's where most people drop off. That's where most people walk away. But once who finish, they're cut from a different cloth. They don't rely on how they feel. They rely on what they said they would do. You got to understand, there's power in finishing. There's power in pushing through when everything in you wants to quit. Starting takes hope, but finishing takes heart. It takes grit. It takes discipline. It takes discipline. Anyone can talk about goals, post about goals, write about goals. But how many people actually cross the finish line? Not many. And it's not because they aren't capable. It's because they haven't developed the habit of finishing. They train themselves to walk away when things get uncomfortable. They've taught themselves that quitting is okay if it gets hard. But that mindset kills dream. The reality is, the finish line is never as close as it looks. Sometimes you think you're almost there, and then life throws another obstacle in your path. That's when it gets real. That's when you find out who you really are. Will you keep going when the path gets longer than expected? Will you show up when the reward seems far away? Will you stay locked in even when the applause is gone and it feels like no one cares? That's what finishing is about. It's not about being perfect, it's about being relentless. It's about making a decision that no matter what, you will not stop until the job is done. You've already come this far. You've already sacrificed. You've already put in time. So why stop now? Why walk away without the reward? Don't disrespect the grind by quitting halfway. Don't let temporary emotions destroy what could be a lifelong achievement. You owe it to yourself to see it through. You owe it to the struggle, to the time, to the effort. Because every time you finish something hard, you prove to yourself that you can. You reinforce the identity of a closer, a winner, a finisher. And that identity, that's what carries you to the next level. There will be voices in your head telling you it's not worth it. Telling you you're not good enough, that it's too late, that it's too far. Those voices are lying. They're distractions. Your job is to silence them with action. You don't have to feel strong to be strong to be strong. You don't have to feel confident to be committed. What matters is that you don't stop. You don't give up. You don't fold. The finish line doesn't require perfection. It requires endurance. It requires consistency. It requires that you show up on the days when everything in you wants to disappear. You don't finish because it's easy. You finish because it's necessary. Because your dream deserves that kind of respect. Because your future deserves that kind of discipline. Because your name deserves to be associated with follow through. Think about what it means to be someone who finishes. That means when you make a promise, you keep it. That means when you set a goal, you attack it until it's done. That means when you commit, you see it through. That's how confidence is built. Not through hype, not through talk, but through completion. People will doubt you. They'll say you're crazy for working so hard, for staying committed when it doesn't make sense. But they don't know what finishing means to you. They don't know what it cost you to get this far. And they don't need to. You didn't start for them, and you won't finish for them either. You'll finish for the version of you that refused to quit. For the version of you that kept showing up when nothing was working. For the version of you that knew deep down, I wasn't built to quit. I was built to conquer that. There's no success without follow through. No victory without the final push. The world won't remember how fast you started. It'll remember whether you finished. And every time you cross that line, every time you complete what you set out to do, you level up, you grow stronger, you grow sharper, you grow into the kind of person who finishes no matter what. Talk less, do more. That's not just a slogan, it's a way of life. In a world where everybody wants to be heard, where everyone is posting, boasting, and showing off, the ones who actually win are the ones too busy working to talk about it. Action speaks louder than words, and results drown out excuses. You don't have to convince people of your greatness when your work already proves it. You don't need to announce every move if your results are undeniable. No, too many people are addicted to talking about what they're going to do, but they never follow through. They live in the hype. They love the attention, but they never deliver. That's not the path to power. Power lives in execution. You don't build a legacy on promises. You build it on proof. And proof only comes from doing the work every single day, regardless of how you feel, regardless of who's watching, regardless of who's clapping. You grind in silence. You let your consistency speak. Because at the end of the day, the world respects results, not noise. All the motivation in the world means nothing if it's not backed by action. Goals without discipline are just wishes. Talent without effort is wasted. Ideas without execution die in the dust. You have to become obsessed with doing more than you say. Let other people talk. Let them flex. Let them post. Let them post. You stay focused. You keep your head down and you hustle high. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't need to be seen to be successful. Someone who doesn't seek validation, who isn't chasing applause, who's just locked in on their vision and committed to the grind. That's the person who becomes dangerous. Because while others are distracted trying to impress the world, you're building in silence. You're stacking win. You're becoming unshakable. Most people are more in love with the idea of success than the work it takes to earn it. They'll talk all day about their plans, their goals, their dreams, but the moment it requires discipline, the moment it demands sacrifice, they disappear. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the one who doesn't just dream, but delivers. The one who wakes up every day and gets after it, no matter what. You don't have to post it. You don't have to explain it. You just have to do it every day. No breaks, no shortcuts, no excuses. There's a reason why the people at the top don't do much talking. They don't have to. Their lives speak for them. Their achievements are loud enough. They've mastered the art of doing, not just saying they figured out that progress is the real flex. While the crowd is busy seeking validation, the winners are building legacies. While the world is caught up in the image, the winners are mastering the process. They understand that flashy doesn't equal fruitful. That showing off is not the same as showing up. You've got to train yourself to stop seeking external validation and start measuring yourself by internal standards. Did I give my best today? Did I move closer to my goals? Did I execute when it would have been easier to coast? That's the mindset, because that's how momentum is built. One small action at a time, one disciplined choice at a time. Nobody sees the reps. Nobody sees the late nights, the early mornings, the uncomfortable conversations, the sacrifices. But that's okay. It's not their journey. It's yours. And your job is not to prove anything to them. Your job is to keep pushing forward until the results are so loud they can't be ignored to announce that you're coming. Just show up. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them be surprised by your transformation. You don't have to explain your moves when your work is undeniable. No. There's something powerful about moving in silence and let your actions echo. You want to build a brand, you build your character. You want to build a legacy, build your habits. You want to build an empire, build your consistency. The talking will come later after the doing. This world doesn't reward talkers. It rewards doers. It rewards finishers. It rewards those who have the patience to build and the discipline to endure. So the next time you feel the urge to talk about what you're going to do, pause. Ask yourself, am I really committed, or am I just caught up in the moment? Because real commitment is quiet. Real hunger is silent. Real ambition works while others rest. Real greatness doesn't need to be advertised. It just needs to be executed, discipline over motivation. That's the key that separates the consistent from the inconsistent, the locked in from the lost, the ones who make it happen from the ones who make excuses. Motivation is a spark. It's emotional, it's temporary. It comes and goes with your mood, your energy, your environment. But discipline, that's the fire you build every single day. That's what carries you when the hype fades. That's what wakes you up when the excitement wears off. Motivation may get started, but discipline is what keeps you going when every part of you wants to stop. You can't wait on a good mood to chase greatness. You can't depend on being inspired to get up and grind. Because the truth is, most days you won't feel like it. Most days you'll be tired. You'll be frustrated. You'll question the process. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. It cares what you committed to. Discipline means showing up whether you feel like it or not. It means putting in the work even when there's no applause, no recognition, no visible reward. It's about locking into a standard and refusing to fall below it, regardless of the circumstances. People who win in life aren't always the most talented or the most passionate. They're just the most disciplined. They're just the most disciplined. They build habits that don't depend on their emotions. They've trained themselves to do what needs to be done, no matter what. They don't negotiate with themselves every morning. They don't debate whether or not today is the right day. Every day is the right day. Every moment is an opportunity. Discipline takes the decision out of it. It becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. It becomes part of your identity. The truth is, chasing a dream is a long game. There are going to be seasons where nothing seems to be working, where the progress is slow, where the results aren't showing up as fast as you want them to. And if you're only driven by motivation, you'll burn out. You'll quit. You'll find excuses. But if you're driven by discipline, you'll stay the course. And you'll trust the process. You'll understand that consistency compounds, that the breakthrough is coming, but only if you keep building. Only if you stay committed through the quiet seasons, through the setbacks, through the fatigue. Discipline is what gives you freedom. People think it's restricted, but that's the lie. Discipline is what creates the space for you to grow, to improve, to become who you were meant to be. Discipline is what keeps you from being slave to your feelings. It frees you from the chains of laziness, procrastination, and inconsistency. When you live with discipline, you move with purpose. You don't waste time. You don't waste energy. You don't waste potential. You take control. You stay ready. You stay sharp. Look at any champion, athlete, entrepreneur, artist. It doesn't matter the field. What separates them isn't just skill. It's the discipline to train when nobody's watching. The discipline to study when others are sleeping. The discipline to stick to the routine when it's no longer exciting. They don't need motivation to show up. They need a mission. And once you adopt that mindset, once you lock into that level of focus, you become dangerous. Because now your grind isn't based on emotion. It's based on execution. There are going to be days where life hits you hard. You're going to get tired. You're going to get tested. You're going to have 1,000 reasons to take a day off, to skip the workout, to cut the corner. But discipline says no. Discipline says this is what I do. This is who I am. This is the standard I've set for myself, and I refuse to break it. That's the mindset that wins. That's the mindset that lasts. Motivation can't carry you through pain. Discipline can. Motivation won't push you through failure. Discipline will. Discipline is the anchor when everything else is shaking. And the beautiful part is, discipline is built. It's not something you're born with. It's something you train. One choice at a time, one decision at a time. Every time you follow through on your commitment, even when it's hard, you're reinforcing that identity. You're building that mental toughness. You're proving to yourself that you're not controlled by how you feel. You're driven by who you want to become. That's the real power. That's the foundation of greatness. Because while others wait to feel inspired, you're already moving. While others hope for the right conditions, you're already building. While others talk, you execute, so now the choice is yours. You can keep chasing motivation, waiting for the perfect moment, hoping that life gets easier, or you can lock in. You can decide that no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, you're built to win. You're not here to talk about it, you're here to be about it. You're not here to start strong and fade out. You're here to finish. The grind is in your blood. The discipline is in your bones. And every single step you take from this point on isn't just movement, it's momentum. So stand up, show up, and don't stop until your reality matches your vision. Because you weren't made to fit in. You were built to win.